welcome to Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross. I am your host and resource for self-care, connections, and collaborations. Today, we are going to unpack fertility and wellness with Glenna James. As a seasoned holistic health practitioner, fertility and pregnancy coach, and a master of science in complementary and integrative health, Glenna brings a wealth of knowledge on wellness. She's a certified acupressure expert and feng shui, well, might not pronounce that right, but feng shui enthusiast with a flair for holistic nutrition. She has a passion for herbs that led her to author The Energies of Herbs, and she has a unique approach that combines yoga, meditation, and daily self-care rituals to empower women to understand their bodies better. So right now, I would love to welcome you all to meet Glenna James. Glenna, thank you very much for taking the time and meeting with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I am very excited to talk about fertility and wellness and what people can do with that.
Thank you. So how do you integrate yoga, meditation, and herbs in your holistic health approach?
I think it's a lifestyle change. It's adding that with yoga, it's adding movement, a movement that feels good. A lot of people go for the high intensity workouts and other type of cardio workouts, which you don't need that. You can do yoga. Yoga can get your heart rate up, and it really is able to be modified for the body. So I use that as my stepping stone to get people to a platform where they can go and, let's say, jog. They can go and do stuff like that. Herbs is every day. Herb is something you can drink. If you're a caffeine person, there's tea for you. So it's taking those herbs and really using them as a daily lifestyle modification. All herbs are good for your body, and if you're a woman, especially during your cycle, herbs can help with balancing estrogen or progesterone. So it's using those tools every day, and it's putting them into practice. Yoga is very good for the mind and the body. And it's a meditation, like yin yoga is a very meditation-based practice. They call it a movement meditation. Yin yoga and Tai Chi are basically the same at their essence.
Okay.
And it's fluid movement. And it helps really calm yourself down. So if you do that in the morning, or you're the type of person that works all the time, and you need to calm down at night, there are movements in yoga that will help de-stress you so you can go to sleep. So it's really personalized, and that's how I always do my practice with everybody. It's like, okay, you don't want to do yoga, but you're interested in Tai Chi. Let's start there. So.
Yeah, I've recently started to learn Qigong from one of my other guests that I have, which I understand is a lot like Tai Chi. And yeah, it's different. You talk about fluid movement, which I think a lot of us lose because we're either in jobs that we're sitting at a desk all the time, or we're sitting in front of a Zoom or, cameras doing stuff, but we kind of lost all of that movement. And the fluid movement, I think, is a really important part. So I can understand why you integrate that in there. But can you share how your book, The Energies of Herbs, how has that shaped your understanding of women's health and the fertility?
My book was a master's degree project. I sat down and I asked my teacher, what do I got to do for my master's project? I said, I want to do about the immune system. She goes, you're going to do immune system constantly in herbs. So no. And I was like, okay, here's this off the wall, not going to actually mean anything to anybody. I said, we took energy medicine as a course. I said, we had to use science to back it. I said, I can use science and physics to back the energetics of herbs. And she goes, there's no book like that talks about it from a scientific perspective. There's your project. I'm like, what? So I really dived into the physics, because it's like, wait a minute. And then just this year, we find out plants can breathe. We find out that quantum mechanics is basically photosynthesis, which I already said in my book, but they were able to prove on a chemical basis. I'm like, this can explain why all these different chemicals on plants actually cause them to lose their flavor, to lose their biodiversity, their nutrition. I'm like, wow. So it really was that scientific perspective, and then also the metaphysics of explaining herbs. But herbs have been explained for years. In Germany, they show herbs are effective in what they do. What it did for me in the women's space after I wrote it was to prove that every herb has its own energetic perspective. Instead of hot, cold, and this, you need your herbs to be at a good quality. They have to be organic. They have to not have been killed, because that's what the fertilizer does, kills it. It kills all the processes. And that each herb is different for somebody. Just because chamomile works for, let's say, me, it's not going to work to calm someone else down. So
Right.
it's really taught me to look at people's energetic perspective of their body, but also the herbs and their perspective. So it's really pushed me to use the scientific method more in everything.
So what would that look like? Say someone, like you said, it's for fertility and women's wellness. So I would assume you also deal with people that may be having, the hot flashes or stuff all the time, or their cycles aren't right. Can you give us an example of maybe some of the herbs or something that have worked for someone, or how you go about determining? Because it, like you said, not everything fits everyone. It's not a one size fits all. So what would that process look like?
Just let's say basic period issues. First, we would rule out and make sure you don't have endometriosis, PCOS. We would do those tests. I can do some of those tests with the Dutch test. I would also say go to your practitioner, your midwife, get the other tests to make sure that you don't have those things, because if it is that, herbs can help regulate the hormones, but they're not going to be a fix. So it's like, that's where the complementary and integrated comes in with the allopathic system. And then if you didn't have any of those problems and it was just, let's say you have a short lunar phase, I would have been like, okay, then it's the progesterone we need to look at. We need to increase the progesterone. So I always go with the gentlest herbs before going to the really, they call it tonic herbs. They're just really more effective. So it would be for regular periods, and in regular periods that don't have anything to do with PCOS, we would go with red raspberry, that tones the liver, and it tones the uterus. A lot of pregnant women use that in pregnancy. You would go with black cohosh, which also is good for menopause, because it has that. It doesn't give you estrogen, but what it does is it balances estrogen. And herbs always go with the way the body is, so it's not like a synthetic estrogen, but what it does is help the body regulate its own. It's weird. You think it would give it your own it would give your own herb, but it's like, wait a minute, no, it doesn't. It does something with the biomechanics of the body. You got
Okay.
blue cohosh that does the same thing. You can use those interchangeably. Oh my God, those are the really three, but there's other herbs in there that can be used to really balance the body. So there's thyroid herbs that can help with that. You would looking at your blood pressure and your blood sugar. So you would look at hibiscus for the blood pressure, and you would really look at the body in a whole. But just for the female reproductive organs, oh my God, there's so many herbs that people put in tinctures. That's another thing. I know all the herbs, but I would start with those three. And if you did not want to get it yourself and be like, hey, here's all these herbs that I'm going to put in a tea bag. I don't know how to do this. I don't want to do this. There's tinctures. And I love the companies I personally use. I have vetted them. And that's another thing, is I vet my herbs. I vet my products. And so I would really go with blue cohosh, black cohosh, and I would really go with the red raspberry. And because even when you have your period, and cinnamon's very good too. So that really helps balance the body. If you are someone who has endometriosis, then I would really look at the lifestyles changes. I would work with your doctor to be like, okay, this doesn't work. even after all these surgeries, we need to look at the hormonal panel. A lot of endometriosis does have hormonal issues, like with the progesterone or estrogen.
Right.
So I would really go through it. And if you're not ovulating, then you're not having a period. So it would be like, let's get to that point where you're actually having a healthy period. So it's really personalized. And supplements, that's another thing. All women, I'm going to say this right now, all women until menopause, if you are of the age to get pregnant, I believe you should be on a multivitamin. That is very good. Some people say take prenatals as your multivitamin. I kind of agree with that, kind of disagree with that. It really depends on, are you going to get pregnant within the next 6 months to a year? Then let's put you on a prenatal. If not, a really good multivitamin that's specifically for your body. If you have problems with iron, then we need to add more iron to it. Because there you go.
Right.
There's where iron issues can come from and all that. So it's very personalized, and you really have to take the steps to make sure the herbs you're using are not going to react with you. So, because some people can be allergic to certain herbs. So it's like one herb at a time till we do it. We want it combined it all together. It'd be like, let's take this and then this and then this. So
yeah,
if it's a
that's one thing I
menopause,
think people don't think about is when you try and say you want to throw the book at it and throw everything at it, but then if you have a reaction, then some people give up. But it might just be one item in there. So yeah, I love that approach, because if you do at least one at a time, then you can tell whether you have a reaction to it, and then you can add something. And then if something happens, then you at least know what you should take away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So with the herbs, so maybe you have someone that is, say, been trying to get pregnant, but they haven't been able to. And obviously this is kind of combining Western and Eastern, because you have to have certain tests to make sure this isn't right. Something's not wrong here or there. But say they've done that, but they're still having issues, getting pregnant. Is there a good herb that can help boost that possibility or change that?
Okay, let's say they got all the tests and the hormones are fine and their levels are fine. You still might have PCOS, even though you might not be labeled with that. You might have other issues. So it'd be like, okay, you went through these, but let's make sure there's no cyst. If all that has been met, but something's going on where you can't conceive, then we're going to look at your partner. First I'm going to look at your partner. It's going to be like, wait a minute, has the partner been checked? If the partner comes back and be like, yeah, I'm fine, that's going to be like, then something else is going on here. So we would...
Just one quick second, though, before we go further, just for those that don't know, what is PCOS?
Polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's considered a diabetes of the reproductive organ, because a lot of them have diabetes and stuff like that. You have cysts on your ovaries, but there are a few women. There's one woman I met that would meet the criteria of that, but she didn't have the hormone issue. She didn't have the cysts. She had all the other symptoms, so she would have PCOS, but because she doesn't have the two outlying symptoms, they didn't label her with that. But she
Did they test for it?
No, because they did, but she don't have all those issues. But she changed her diet, she added things, and she was able to get pregnant. So it was like, even though she had the diabetes part, pre-diabetes part, and she had all those other issues, she didn't have the two outliers. So I would say, even if your hormones are fine, you don't have cysts, I'll be like, let's still look at this as possibly you have this issue, or any other issue if your partner comes back, and it would be diet. So it would be diet. It would be herbs to support your hormones to make sure they don't get imbalanced. We would be testing your hormones every cycle and we would be checking when you ovulate. There are many different ways to check that. If you actually have PCOS or you have stuff like that, LH tests, which are localizing hormone tests, do not work for you unless you know you ovulate. So we would be looking at all your other fertility signs to see if you're actually ovulating, and we will be timing intercourse right. That's another thing. You could have all these other issues wrong, nothing wrong, and it just be that you're not timing that right. So if that was it, that I would start you tracking your cycle. And if that was what was going on, that you were ovulating but you were not doing it at the right time, I would be like, there's your issue. You don't have any other issue. But I would still put you on a pre-pregnancy protocol. You would be on that. So we would be like, this is your goal. This is what we're doing. And I would not say, you're going to get pregnant in 6 months. We would be like 6 months to a year. Because we want to check everything. I want to check what your doctors have done. Oh my God, he didn't do this test. Your hormones were a little off here.
Right.
Because, oh, wait a minute. You have a short follicular phase. So right after you period stopped, you were immediately fertile in 4 days. So your follicular phase, you go from 6 days, and then you ovulate on day 9. That's why, you have a short cycle. That's what's going on here. You don't have that. And short cycles are a very hard thing for women because you're supposed to have a 21 to 35 day cycle. You can go through that, and that's normal. But if you have a shorter cycle, you really have to track your cycles because that can cause infertility as well. So it would be a comprehensive approach to somebody. So it would be cycle tracking. It would be herbs to balance the hormones. It would be rechecking your hormones.
Right.
If there's tests you need to do, we would go back and be like, you need to go test for this. And if none of that works, and you can't conceive naturally and it's not your partner, that's when I would say IVF. And if IVF don't work, I would then go to adoption, which would be the last step. Surrogacy, unless you have the money for it, would be like the last step. So
Right. And I'm sure you found too that stress or the environment, all that stuff can kind of affect that possibility as well. So like you said, it's really looking at the whole, and when you're looking at the whole body and the whole thing, then you're also looking at the environment and maybe stressors that are maybe causing issues.
Yeah, we would take trying to conceive off the table for about 4 months. We would be like, that's not your goal right now. Yes, that's your goal, but let's take it actually off your focus. What right now is we're going to get you well. We're going to get you to the point where that is important, but let's stop doing that. And that's where I can see clients, no, I want that. I'm like, I understand that, but the stress and let's just see what's going on here. Let's really learn about your body, because after tracking your cycle, I do it myself, you learn so much about your body, and because it doesn't matter when you ovulate. Nobody ovulates on day 14. Okay, that's a myth. Let's say you ovulate day 10, but your luteal phase is 12 to 14 days. That's your luteal phase after tracking it for 4 months or so. You will be able to time when you're going to have your period because it's 12 to 14 days. So you can be like, okay, I'm safe. I need to start having intercourse 6 days. When is my fertility window? Okay. Let's say you have a cycle like me, 29 days, 28, 29. I can ovulate between day 13 to day 15. I know that my fertile phase is 6 days. So count 3 days back, you would be able to. But then also, you're tracking your cervical mucus, you're tracking your temperature, I like LH test because it's another data point that you can look for, and your cervical position, so you can add all this stuff to it. And then progesterone testing, especially if you're trying to get pregnant, it'd be like, are you able to have enough progesterone to continue a pregnancy? Because a lot of women can have a normal cycle length, but they don't have enough progesterone during the implantation phase to carry a healthy pregnancy. So the period you might be having could be an early miscarriage. So we would be looking at all those things. So it's interesting, but it gives you so much knowledge about your body and yourself. And why do I crave this during my time? Oh, maybe it's because your iron's low. So it's like, ladies, let's really learn our own bodies, because doctors ain't going to tell us. And you can use it to not even get pregnant. So it's the fertility awareness method. There's many different methods out there, but I really go with I really go with the method that encompasses all data points.
Yeah, which I think is really important. And, you got some people that you feel like you can just look at them and they get pregnant. There's other ones that struggle. So, it's all kind of all over the map. And like you said, I love that you can look at all those different things. And I'm sure some of your background too also plays into getting those stress and anxieties. And we're going to talk more about that. But right now we do need to take a break from our sponsors, but we're going to dig into more about how you can help them relieve that stress and help with their fertility and wellness. So we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Bobby Aldridge with BAM Metrics. There are so many programs out there that measure your swing speed, sets, reps, your BMI, your body fat. But the one thing they're not measuring that's so essential is mobility. Mobility is the key. If you're measuring your mobility, your performance will get better and you will reduce your pain. I created BAM Metrics to make it easy for people to repeat the exercises so they could do it properly at home on their own. It's simple, it's easy to do, and from a senior to a pro athlete.
Relief for PTSD, anxiety, pain, insomnia, and many other ailments. Introducing Vibe, the world's only pocket PEMF device. You place in your pocket while cooking, cleaning, relaxing, watching TV, sitting at your computer, reading, or walking. Self-contained standalone device. No drugs. No other phone or Bluetooth connections required. No monthly subscription fees. No apps to download. No Bozone. The future of medicine is in the frequencies. Come join the revolution.
Hello, my name is Peter. I'm a Dharma Master. I teach Qigong at the Bright Beings Academy. What kind of Qigong do we teach? Well, it helps you to get your mind into your body and your breath very quickly. We really start off with quite quick movements to help cater for the busy Western mind, coming into stretching out the meridians, waking up the chakra system and the danjons, coming into Jigan meditation, which helps you to really focus on the energy in and around your body, bringing you into that beautiful calm state where you can sit and meditate really easily, whereas maybe before you found it really difficult. So Qigong at the Bright Beings Academy will help you get more in touch with yourself.
So we were talking about the stress and the anxiety and stuff, and you have expertise in acupressure and is it feng shui? How do you pronounce that? Feng shui. Yeah, feng shui. That's not one of my specialties in that one. Feng shui. How do they contribute to the overall wellness for your clients?
Acupressure is kind of like acupuncture. It's just without the needles. So it's the same meridian system that's in Qigong and that's in Chinese-based medicine. So it's the same energetic meridian system, which actually was the first of its kind to actually talk about the nervous system. So it actually runs along the nervous system. So what we're tapping into is the nervous system. We're tapping into that rest and digest, that parasympathetic nervous system. And we're actually relaxing you. So let's say there's a pressure point here. So you would press it and you would rotate around and around. So it's the same pressure that the acupuncture does, but it's not a needle. So it's the same type of frequency that you're going into, and I can teach someone to do that on themselves, even their partner. Feng Shui is, again, that Chinese-based medicine and Eastern medicine. What it really is about your external environment. So again, you're looking at the 4 to 5 elements in the system. So you're looking at, metal, earth, water, fire, air. You're looking at those. Spirit is in there, but that's a separate thing. So you would really look at like your bed should never face the door. So it's like it should be by the door, but it should never be within line of the door. Your desk, if you have a desk in your room, or your TV should be on this other wall. So it really is, let's map out your house and everything has to be within a certain thing. Like east, I can't remember all of them. Like east is water, so just saying it is doesn't mean it is. I don't have a thing. I always have the stuff in front of me to make sure. Let's say, okay, all your doors faced east. Okay, that's water. So how are we going to encompass that? So really it's an environmental energy perspective. So it's like, okay, why you got too much red here? That's too much fire energy. You know, you got too much green. That's too much earth energy. So let's balance all these elements out, which are also within the body. So it's like, let's balance these out as well. So I would look at that. A lot of people don't go into the energy medicine, so I kind of like.
That's interesting. But now you've got a question in my head. Why should your bed not be in the line with the door? And what if you don't have a choice?
Okay.
So you come in the door.
It's the head of the bed. The head of the bed should not be facing the door. So like if your bed is here and your door is here, that's fine. But your head of your bed should not be. So basically, let's say I have a door here, and if I had a bed there, that bed should not be facing that door in the middle. It's because your feet should always be facing the door, not your head, because it's going out into something.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going out.
So if it's the side of your bed, it should be fine because you swing your legs out the side of your bed to go, just not the head. Gotcha. Okay.
Because you're going out somewhere, so it's like you're,
Wow. Yeah, I never understood that. I've never looked into that, so I didn't even know that was a thing. I know colors can put you in certain moods and do certain things, but that's definitely interesting how that all ties together as well.
Like, do you have a water feature over here in this side? Okay, you got too much water elements in here, so we're gonna need to move the water elements around. Wait a minute, you got too much wood objects. Okay, if you want all these wood objects, then let's put some fire in there. Let's put some water elements. Let's put, even some people, like, I can't bring plants to my apartment. Fake plants. I have fake plants. They're fake. They still bring it. Open your windows. If you have good scenery outside, open the windows and let nature in. Let that actual circulation of air. So it's really an environmental thing. And since I just got certified as a meditation and mindfulness teacher over the holidays, I've done meditation and mindfulness for the last couple years. It goes in with yoga, but mindfulness really is an everyday practice. So it's like, let's be mindful of our thoughts and not judge ourselves for them. So it really frees you. Oh my God, I had this bad thought while I was driving. I really wanted to hit that person. Okay. Take a breath. Okay, you didn't do it. Then the next one would be like really meditating. Sitting down, meditation. Movement is easy for us, but sitting still isn't. So even 5 minutes of meditation can really help really calm the body and get into that parasympathetic nervous system and relax and digest. And I even think meditation goes into not eating so fast. Taking the self-care of being like, I'm going to eat mindfully. I'm going to take it slow and chew properly and let this digest before I shove myself full of everything else. My grandma used to do this. You're not allowed to drink while you eat because you're going to fill up on your drink. So that's another thing that could be within mindfulness.
There's different mindsets on that. Some of them will tell you to make sure you drink enough so that you're not overeating and, you feel...
It's a balance. You can drink, but it's also like, okay, I ate one hamburger. Let me drink my drink. Okay, I don't think there's half a plate of fries I'm going to eat. Let's cut it in half. So it's like you learn slowly what you can take in. And if, let's say, you do want to eat another hamburger 6 hours later, that's fine. But it's like, don't scarf them all down at one point in time unless you haven't ate a lot in that day. And then it's like, okay, you went through fasting. You're gonna eat more because your blood sugar might have dropped. Yeah. But it's those little things that you can be mindful about. And meditation, there's guided meditation. There's meditation with chakras. There's meditation with trying to think of a few of them. Like,
you're fine. I mean,
mommy, Pat-May.
Shutting everything else off. It's not being a couch potato in front of the TV. That's
Yes, yes.
So not. I don't think you can count that as meditation because
no
you're being bombarded with a ton of stuff.
Yeah, some people can't do guided meditation. They like mantras. I'm a person that can do a guided meditation, but I better listen to it like 60 times before I do it. I like mantras because, again, the mantras are aligned with each chakra point and meridian system. So it's like it's tapping into the whole nervous system. And I like those, but some people can just go out in nature and just meditate. That's another good thing. Earthing, where you go out on earth with no shoes on and just stand and you let the energies of the earth align with yours, because we have this energy perspective all around us. We wouldn't have echocardiograms if we didn't have an energy pattern. So we even have it within ourselves. So in Qigong, I bet you the last person you did, you can easily do that. You can feel that with your own energy field within your own hands. So
yeah, it's wild how you can actually feel like the vibration and stuff when you do certain things. But you have to have I will say you have to have an open mind to this. And I think you kind of already answered one of my other questions, because I was going to say, in your opinion, can incorporating meditation in the daily routine provide relief from stress and anxiety?
Yes, and with PCOS, which causes a lot of imbalances in the bodies, even PTSD, anxiety, has been proven. The monks that do meditation has been proven that their neuroplasticity in their brain changes.
Well, yeah, it's amazing how all that works. And the thing is a lot of that is never taught in schools. It's not taught in our schools. It's been around for centuries and it goes way back, but we don't, yeah, I think it's fascinating. It's still stuff to learn. I always say, if you're always growing when you're still learning, and there's so much out there to learn because we weren't taught it, but it's been around and there's so many things you can do. So do you practice yoga regularly, and how's it impacted your well-being?
I practice yoga right now. In the winter, I take my time off. I go more internal. So this would be my internal meditation time to be like, what is the next facet of yoga I want to go into? So I do yoga. Yes, I've been doing yoga, oh my God, since 2008. I've had my times off. I would push myself to do it in the winter, but my husband says, and then through ancestry and through learning, this is the time where we go internal. This is the time where we slow down because it's cold. So light movements. It's not that I'm sedentary. We do light movements. I do other aspects of yoga. It's just not constant doing that. I do it in the morning because it helps me wake up and helps me get started for the day, especially with somebody that has anxiety. So it really sets me. It says, okay, I've done all this in the morning. I'm about to get to do work, or I'm about to do this. Okay, no more. Stop obsessing. Stop doing that. It's time for yourself. Yoga impacted me by giving me two things. One, getting out of my head. One, saying stop, getting out of my head, learning to not judge my faults. And two, really putting me face to face with body image issues. And saying to myself, okay, I can't do what you do because you're a skinny person. But hearing the yoga teacher, because I would do it with yoga with Adrian and other yoga teachers, don't compare. Don't compare. And here's all these modifications, and being like, oh yeah, I gotta do this modification because I don't have that flexibility at this moment. But it gave me the time. That's why I kept running away from it, because I'm like, I can't do that. But it gave me the time to really sit with where I was comparing myself to others. And then when I got into yin yoga, because yin yoga is slow and you hold poses, it gives you time. It gave me time to be like, wait a minute, I can go a little further in this pose. Oh, wow, I didn't know I was that flexible. What the heck did that come from? And when you get those little moments of, wait a minute, I can do this better than I did before. I can hold this pose a little longer. You're like, oh, wow, I'm strong. I think the first time that I was able to actually pick something up, because my arm strength have always been a little issue for me, being able to pick up a box where my mom couldn't, even though she's very strong, and be like, I got it. And she's like, Being able
It's a
to
good
move,
feeling.
being able to move a dresser,
Mm-hmm.
being able to do that, and heavy, just being able to slide it with my legs, with my arms and leg strength, being able to do that, being like, wow, it really gave me that confidence of, yes, I might not be a skinny mini, but my body and my bones and my muscle always weigh more than fat,
Right.
is meant to do that. It really got me into, this is my body, this is what I'm supposed to look like.
Yeah.
Go away, society.
Yeah, and you brought up so many good points there. For one, the whole judgment thing. We do that way too much and too easy, which is why I've always liked creating judgment-free spaces. I mean, and the comparing. I've spent a lot of times doing that, and now I'm just like, no, I'm proud of what I can do. But when you stop comparing yourself and you stop judging, like you said, I mean, look at that person. So what if they can't do something the same as you can? The fact is they're doing it and they're trying to do something. It's not like they're just saying, can't do this, and they're sitting. So, why are we not being more positive and giving them credit to say, hey, they're getting out there and they're doing something about it?
Oh yeah. And I believe yoga and even meditation, sitting in meditation, okay, you're gonna flinch. All right, you're gonna flinch 3 or 4 times. But being able to say, okay, I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna do that, and just add a minute every time. Start 3 minutes if that's all you can do. There's walking meditations. There's so many meditations that we can do and sit. And I think within the Vedic philosophy, which is Ayurvedic medicine, which is herbalism and yoga, they tapped into this. They were able to know this, and that it disarms us. That's what it does. Meditation and yoga disarms us because it gives us that time to be with internal but external. So it's like, what feels good in the body? Okay, this doesn't feel good, so no, I'm not going to do that today. So it really is personalized. And I believe all people need to do that. Animals do that. They stretch and move and do things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. We forget to do that. We just like get up and we try to go, and then it's like all of a sudden your body just goes, because you haven't even properly moved or do something. You can't go from static, like strenuous something. Normally muscles or something's going to tell you, hey, you need to do something different. But what books are currently influencing your perspective on health and wellness?
Since I'm going through a certification program to become a doula all the way up to lactation consultant, so it would be pregnancy related books. It would be birth work. Right now it's a book, I can't remember the name. Oh, Gentle Birth, Gentle Mothering. And these are little essays she wrote and put them into a book, and it's talking about birth. And it's talking about how we can do that without intervention. Yes, we need intervention, but how intervention has really caused a lot of problems. And she's a family doctor, so it really goes through that, and then her different approaches to mothering. And it's very interesting because one of the concepts in the book is how we over diaper our kids. We don't give them that freedom. And I remember having that conversation with my husband. They're like, back then when there was no diapers, we just set the baby out and they just pooped. So it was like she went through that phase of like, yeah, we have diapers, but with me knowing the baby's instincts and being able to be in tune. So, I'm a little about that. That's a little hippie-ish.
I was going to say that's different. I've never even heard of that, but
yeah. But I can understand it. It's the same as like when we it would be really good when we start potty training our kids to do that. We let them run around without their diaper, and they're like, oh no, diapers! You're gonna poop on my floor. If you had a bucket there, like, you're gonna poop, So that, and then there's a couple labor books about the different hormones that go within labor and delivery, and then some of them are business books, which I'm learning more things about business that I did not know, adding birth work into my comprendum, I'm going to say that, of services. I keep hearing I need to add everything on my pages. But yeah, really being able to be that birth companion. So those books, a lot of them are from Ivra, can't say her name, Gaston. She's a midwife. She's been around for years. So, and herb books for pregnancy and delivery, you know, those, getting back into those herbs that's specifically for labor and pregnancy. And I'm excited to add those things to, I'll be doing it virtually. You can be a virtual doula. People don't think you can be. But even the postpartum phase, being able to help women be able to navigate that, and then having those resources to be like, I know where you can go for this in your town. So I'm excited about that. So basically herb books for labor and delivery and a lot of birth work books. And again, that's just what I'm reading for my course. Doesn't mean that I don't have like 10,000 on my other list.
Oh, sure. But it sounds like you're really rounding out the whole thing. So you could actually work with a client from the beginning, get them healthy, eliminate stressors and the environment, help them with the fertility and getting pregnant in the first place. And now you're kind of completing the thing to like, so you could help them all the way through the process and possibly even after.
Yes, I want that lifestyle phase. Even if you don't want to get pregnant, let's still track your cycle so that those hormonal birth control pills, you know, don't always work. There's issues. We know that. So it's like, let's get off of that. Because if you want to have kids in the future, let's get off of those about a year or so before. So it's like, it's that. And if you are not wanting any of that, there's still holistic health coaching. So there's men. So I also look at the male aspect. So helping them through their pregnancy is also going to be good, because then if they have a partner, I can be like, here's how you can be the person helping them when they go through labor. So childbirth education with that is going to be so great. And sorry, my kitty cat's over here. She always is over here. She's the silent partner.
You're not talking to them.
She's the silent partner.
So how important is it for women to learn about their bodies' cycles to improve their health?
Oh my God, I actually think it's essential, and I consider it a vital sign. I consider your menstrual cycle, your reproductive organs, and your whole body is a vital sign, and we miss out on that. We think we learn that in sex ed class. We get a basic thing about how babies are made, but we don't get how our bodies are so wonderful. And I believe this is information that needs to be out there from the time you're a teenager on. You know, I have a teenage daughter. I still ask her questions, and she's like, I want to know about that, Mom. But I'm just like, but I still, in my mind, I know her cycle. So I'm like, you're starting to bleed when I bleed. Okay. So I definitely know 5 days here. Okay. So I'm, in my mind, I'm tracking her cycle. Even though I'm tracking my own, I'm tracking hers. Now it's just getting her to be like, here's a temperature. Let's look at your temperature now. It's getting to that, which is like, hey, Mom, I don't want to do that. You know, but I still look at it and track it. And when she gets to the point of wanting to do that, I can be like, I already know. You know, so it's those, it's doing it covertly.
Yeah, and that always baffled me too, as to how you can be one way, but when you start hanging around a certain group of women, all of a sudden you shift and you're all in sync. And I'm like, why that even works or why that is, I have no idea, but it's the wildest thing.
It happens. Some women it happens with. It's not a big thing. It's the hormonal shift. Just like men can have, when they're around a woman for a very long time, men don't know this. They have their own cycles. Theirs is a 24-hour cycle, but they have a cycle within themselves, and men talk to men about it. They don't talk to anyone else about it. But when a man is with a woman, his cycle will sync up with hers. And I can attest to that within my own marriage. I can tell you. But that's another thing we don't think about: infertility and stress from men. So it's also bringing the partner in and being like, dude, you need to chill the heck out.
Yeah, and until I've met you, and I know we've kidded around about it, but you've never really heard anyone talking about men having a cycle.
They do. They have testosterone, and they have the same kind of. We have testosterone. That's why testosterone's through the roof. There's a lot of issues with women. They can have different male attributes, like a lot of growing hair and stuff, which is part of PCOS. But men who have too much testosterone can have, not testosterone, but estrogen can have an issue. So men have their own cycle. It's just not taught. Just like men go through menopause, which doesn't, men are constantly fertile. We're not. We go through menopause, but men till about 50, 60, even 70, we have these stars that have kids at 60. That's not uncommon, but the fertility rate goes down. And just before we end this, I just want to say there's been studies out there that men's fertility rates at 20 are like 30, and that women's at 20 is like at a 30-year-old, because a lot of things have impacted men and women's fertility.
Right. So maybe you can share with us, you have a daily self-care routine, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So what does that look like for you?
I try to get up early in the morning, but because of the holidays, I've been sleeping in. So my daily routine is always either tea. I do that every morning, coffee every now and then. I'm not a big coffee drinker. So it's getting up, it's having breakfast, it's coffee or tea. It's then taking time to write in a journal, and yes, I let my husband see that, and I let certain people see that. Then it would be I like to clean. So there you go. That's my self-care, is I have to have a clean environment. Some people are going to be like, what? I clean. I can't sit. I'm the person that can't, if my bed is not made by 12 o'clock, I freak out. It has to be, even if it's just pulled down, I have to have that. So it could be OCD, but it's something in me. And I thank God for my mother. It's because the space has to look good to me, even if it looks like trash. So it's cleaning, it's eating breakfast, it's the tea. Then I try to read something. If I don't get into reading something, then I put it on my favorite TV show, which is at the moment House. I go through this cycle. Every winter, I'll watch House. It's weird. I have these shows that I constantly watch on this repeat. Like, one of them is Grace and Frankie. I'll watch that because it's funny. House. I'll watch New Girl. So it's like a couple of them are comedies, but documentaries. I'll be like, I want to watch a documentary. And it's always about something that I can learn. So it's not vegging out. It's really something that I can... Wait a minute, they said sarcoidosis for the last 13th time. I know what that is. I look it up. So it's that interactive TV. I went through numbing when I was a teenager, so I'm like, no more. So if it's not the TV or reading, then I just really sit back and relax and pet my cat. She's always, and take care of her. Recently just got a ball that is on this frame, so it's actually like this yoga ball on a frame, so it's better for your back. So I'm excited in the new year to start using that. So because it strengthens the legs instead of a seat. So I'm excited about using that, and I will be adding my birth ball to it because it's a yoga ball. I'll be adding that to my self-care, sitting on that. Even my husband likes it. He's like, oh my God, this helps my back. So it's those things. Yoga right now is off, but I am in this thing of not using yoga teachers anymore because I am doing my own yoga teacher training, prenatal yoga, and I just got done with kids yoga, really making my own sequences and doing that. So I'll be starting that in the new year for myself.
So you always have a lot going. Yeah, it reminds me of one of my other guests and stuff. I can always tell because they're sitting on the ball, because it's always that little bit of movement. And I just don't have one like tall enough to hit with the computer to do this. But otherwise, I've put it in front of the TV. And so instead of sitting in a couch, I'm sitting on the ball to get the whole movement so you don't get all locked up.
Yeah, that was cool. My birth ball is bigger than what I thought because you have to do it based on your height. But the company was nice enough. They're like, you bought this extended warranty. We'll send you a free gift. I'm like, okay. And what they sent me was a yoga ball in a chair. I'm like, but it has wheels. I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be so cool in the new year to do that. And it has that movement, but it's not as fluid as the birth ball. So it's be like, that's going to be so cute when I start using the birth ball and being like, this is what I'm doing for yoga.
So, Glenna, the best way, I've got it across the bottom right now, the Holistic Glenn, is that the best way for people to connect with you?
Yes, and on Facebook and Instagram, it's the Holistic Glenn by Glenna James.
Okay. And so on there, so we've covered a lot of things. Do you have a lot of the different programs and all of that? What exactly do they expect on the website when they go there?
Okay, right now I have my holistic health coaching, which encompasses everything we talked about except the fertility stuff. I have my fertility awareness method program, which is for pregnancy and non-pregnancy related people. So if you wanted to use it for birth control, we do that, which encompasses hormone testing. In the new year, you can expect a pregnancy program that will encompasses childbirth education, lactation consultant, and then from that, there will be a spinoff for prenatal as well. So if somebody's already had their baby, they can still come. And then has decided, because a lot of people have asked, to do a hormone testing be like a month, so that we can just look at the hormonal panel, so they don't have to like be locked into a big contract. And I'm starting a women's group, which will be donation based, which means if you can't pay for it but you want to still be a part of it, you just email me and I'll be like, okay. And that will be every 3 months, and it'll be about 50 minutes. We're going to really dive into different topics for women, and I'm excited for that because that's going to be my freebie. It's going to be free, but it's also going to be donation based. And that kind of helps me keep some things going for other things as well.
Yeah, other things. So we only have a few minutes left, but I will tell you, besides all of this, and I know we've talked a lot about women's health, but I know you do a lot about men's health, and you have your podcast.
Yes.
You want to tell people real quick about your podcast and what you're doing with that?
Yeah, the Holistic Women podcast, I have people on, just like your host right here. I've had her on. It's my way of collaborating with other health professionals, and it's my way of having my voice. So it's my voice behind my blog, and that's what it is.
Well, and that's important. And that's why you and I think, connected and clicked so well, because we both have kind of the same thing. We love building that community that provides all that education support. The collaboration like mine is because I think it's important for people to know that there is help and there is support out there for them.
Oh, yes. And I like having that. If I can't help you, I can be like, here's my toolbox of people that I trust. Let me pull them out here. And I can trust my client with that person. It's that a lot of my collaborations with people have become deep friends.
Yeah. Is there any last words you'd like to share with the audience before we leave today?
Yes. 2 things. 1, grace. Give yourself grace no matter where you are within your health journey. And 2, never give up. No matter what you have, there is a way to heal yourself, even if it's not through holistic medicine. You can still integrate that within your approach.
Yeah, and that's important too. So I love those. That's giving ourselves grace, I think, is a huge one too, because I always tell people, it's like, never mind other people's comments. We're normally our worst critics, and we're normally the hardest on ourselves, besides letting all the outside noise and everything else in your head as well. So I love that. Well, Glenna, I want to thank you for taking the time and joining us today. I really appreciate it. So I hope everybody got some good nuggets out there. And obviously, if you have any issues with fertility, wellness, herbs, you heard it. Glenna is the one that can help you. And so I hope you all connect with her. And as always, we have Glenna. We have a whole lineup of other fabulous speakers. So if you've missed this episode, you can always make sure you go to my YouTube channel at Mindful Mondays with Laura Cross. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, so you won't ever have to miss another episode, and you can always watch them later. But Glenna, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate it. And I want to wish everybody, well, we're in the new year now, so I hope everyone had wonderful holidays, and start the new year off right. And if you're having issues, you know who you can connect to. So we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.